Now, protesting youth from the LMA community have halted operational activities at the Port Harcourt refinery, which has led to the grounding of activities at the facility. The protesters barricaded the entrance to the refinery, denying staff and contractors access to it. A faction of LMA community youth is protesting the alleged marginalization of the community, claiming that the refinery has not fully complied with their demand for 40% representation of the total workforce for the ongoing rehabilitation project and the complete dissolution of the Joint Community Relations Committee. At present, the refinery management is making frantic efforts to resolve the protest while ensuring that the situation does not degenerate into communal clashes. Some protesters who allegedly vandalized parts of the refinery were also arrested. Well, let's bring in a former president of Ijaw Youth Council Worldwide, Eradiri, who is also the Labour Party governorship candidate in Bayelsa State in the 2023 elections. Good to see you, Udengze, and thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
You're also a community leader. You're someone who's also worked with the IOCs, representing the community back then. But again, first, just give us a hindsight of what exactly is happening. When we talk about oil theft in Nigeria, it's more or less like deja vu. We'll talk about this year in, year out, and we don't seem to be getting to the root cause of what we're trying to resolve. What exactly is the racket about?
Well, I think that the reason why we are still discussing today about oil theft is that there's been complicity on the part of leadership of the country to deal decisively with the issues that surround oil theft. This is because of the highly placed individuals that are involved, from the security sector to politicians, those guys who have the capacity to bring in the big vessels, those guys who have the capacity to compromise the Nigerian terminals, the loading terminals, those guys who have the capacity to engage jackets. Jackets are steel structures that house wellheads on the ocean. So these are people who also participate in politics in Nigeria. So sometimes it is difficult for leadership to look at them in the eyes and take the decisive action that will bring a stop to oil theft. So, but usually when they talk about oil theft, they want to color it around community participation. The communities are only struggling to survive. There's just a quest for survival at the community level. What we term oil theft goes beyond just vandalizing a pipeline to get a few drums to go and cook and then provide for the vacuum in the petroleum sector that the country itself, the indiscipline the country itself have led to. Because there's an economic vacuum, the people will do everything to be able to fill in that. Kerosene, diesel used to come out from the Niger Delta. But that itself is not what we term as the oil theft. There are IOCs that are operating in this country that don't report to the system what they are taking out of our country. There's an Indian company in Nigeria. They have vessels that they are carrying products from the Niger Delta. Nobody's checking them. There are other companies that are doing what they like because they think that they can pay their way. And then ultimately, the NNPC that was unbundled was not unbundled to perform as a functional entity, as an independent company. And so because you still see those elements that led the institution this far, still manage it. That's why we are still discussing this at this time.
And it's a shame, Udengze, that we're still discussing this, because listening to you, two key things I picked out here would mean first some kind of connivance, and also the power that these people have. How difficult is it that government over the years, not just the Tinubu administration, have still not been able to successfully prosecute just one to serve as deterrent?
Well, you see, it seems it's still the same thing I'm talking about. There are people, very powerful individuals, who contribute to politics in this country. And of course, you know, when you see somebody who have added a lot of value to the process that led you to office, it's usually very difficult to come back and fight. We had two guests here. We had a professor and as well as Kachuku, who was here to give, discuss extensively on this matter, and they dealt with a lot of issues concerning it. I think that until we have a leadership that is prepared, we have governors who are also ready, because the loss of revenue also affects states. The states are not getting what they should get. I was even saying that this PIA that they talked about, at this point, states should begin to know how much they are producing in every community. Because if you say that 3% of whatever you produce, the community will get 3% out of it, what then are you producing? The communities must know how much they are producing. And that brings in governors from the Niger Delta, must begin to set the machinery, build capacity of communities, as well as institutions in their state, to know what they are producing from those states, so they can also sit in FEC to calculate the revenue that should accrue to the state. So you see, a lot of stakeholders think that it's just a federal government thing. The federal government itself has a lot of layers that have bundled themselves into this corruption that is going on within the oil and gas sector. Stakeholders, the communities, the governors must begin to look at it as a major problem and invest in the process of resolving it.
Thanks. Beyond the political influence or the political interference or the political bad influence within this sector, what can you tell us about those who are supposed to be protecting or safeguarding our oil? Because we just saw the Chief of Defense Staff there warning his team, his members, asking, if you're a bad guy and you know you're putting your hands in this bad business, time for you to have a turnaround. Does this indicate that these watchers or security personnel, some of them ultimately get introduced into this bad business?
Not about introduced. First of all, what's the welfare package of security agents? Apart from the leaders of those institutions, have we checked how their boys in the field, how they live, the barracks they live in, their welfare package? Those are the things that drag them into getting into the web of oil corruption that is going on. So I saw the ultimatum that he gave. There's nothing new about it. The military is everywhere in the Niger Delta as we speak. The civil defense have been there. The police, all the institutions have structures dedicated for addressing the issue of oil theft. So when the marching order was given, for me, it didn't move me, because these institutions have been there. Do we have the political will to deal with the problem? Ojinika Okwe's program, you saw where Tantita went to accost a particular vessel, and the Nigerian Navy, it was aired all over the world, was saying that area where that vessel was operating, they showed the vessel loading from a jacket. They said it was a no-go area and it was ordered from above. We all watched it on Arise TV. Nothing has happened to those officers that were involved in that brazen stealing of the Nigeria's crude oil. You go to terminals, people are loading. It's happening. As we are talking here, it's happening. I expect that by now, the NSA should have a special squad. If they need to bring in mercenaries from outside, then they need to seek foreign help. To the point where the president at this point, who is the Minister for Petroleum, should be able to sit in his office at all points and be looking at the coastal areas and what vessel is coming in or going out. If you go there, you see a lot of jackets. Jackets are steel structures that house Christmas trees. Vessels are loading on those jackets.
Well, we're hoping that the Minister for Petroleum and President Bola Tinubu will look into some of those key things. As you rightly said, where technology can also help the president just within the confines of his office see what is coming in and what's going out. Well, thanks, Eradiri. I hope we can keep these conversations going. Many thanks for your time, and thanks as always.